Welcome to Guided, your weekly sanctuary where we blend the wisdom of the Enneagram with the art of intentional living. I'm your host Evie, and you're so welcome here. Guided is all about helping you, the modern woman, find your flow in a world that's often all hustle and no heart. Whether you're navigating a career pivot, diving into creative pursuits, or just figuring out how to take better care of yourself, Guided is here to support you. This podcast is like a weekly chat with a good friend, one who's passionate about making your life feel good. At Guided, we believe in living with intention, fostering emotional well-being, and finding joy in the everyday. We tackle the big stuff like overthinking, setting boundaries, and avoiding burnout, all while keeping it real and relatable. Think of this as your go-to spot for practical tips, soulful conversations, and a reminder to break free from the grind. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. Thank you for choosing to make Guided a part of your weekly ritual. If you're ready to step into a life of intention and empowerment, then hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Hi, hey, how are you? Welcome back to another episode of Guided. If we've never met before, hi, my name is Evie, your self-appointed online big sister, helping you step into the most aligned and expansive life. Just so you know, I've got a little Sophie dog in the room with me today whilst I'm recording. She just did a little shuffle then when I started speaking. So if you hear any cute footsteps, yawns, that is my rescue dog Sophie. She really wanted to be part of today's session, today's episode. Guys, today we're talking about a massive, huge topic off the back of a recent episode where I spoke about my journey with chronic illness. Today we are talking all about burnout. We're talking about burnout recovery, what actually helps, and maybe also what doesn't. If you've never come across burnout before, we're going to talk about what it is. During my time of being chronically unwell, there were times at which I was burnt out whilst I had chronic illnesses. Since recovering from chronic illnesses, there have also been times when I've experienced burnout. I've had friends that have been diagnosed with burnout. I've had friends who haven't been diagnosed with burnout. I've had clients diagnosed with burnout, clients that haven't been diagnosed with burnout but are experiencing symptoms, can feel it coming on. I've had to put things in place to stop that happening. So wherever you fall within that category, I think today is going to be really, really supportive for you. So burnout isn't just about being tired, right? It couldn't be further from the truth. Burnout is a full body, emotional, spiritual, energetic, physical depletion, a mental shutdown that can leave you feeling disconnected and exhausted. And whilst there is no shortage of advice out there about fixing burnout, and I am hesitant to tread my toes into pop psychology, and I want to be really aware of that, what I really want to talk about today is the root cause. Yeah, when we're talking about the kind of pop psychology version of burnout, we very rarely see anybody talking about the root cause. And if you know me or if you know the Enneagram, that is what I'm really interested in. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what exactly burnout is, how we can recognize the signs early, how different Enneagram types might experience burnout, and what actually helps and what doesn't. So if you've been feeling drained, overwhelmed, or just off, this episode will be helpful for you. You don't have to be experiencing medical burnout for today's episode to be supportive for you. So grab a cup of tea, get cozy. The sun has just come out if you're watching here on Spotify, and let's talk about real burnout recovery. Wow, the sun hitting my face right now genuinely feels like a sign from the universe that this is going to be a good episode. Ooh, feels so good. And if anybody else is as excited about the sunshine as me, as excited about spring, let me just give you a little reminder that the spring equinox seasonal reset is coming up in a few weeks. This is the biggest group, the most delightful community we've had so far. If you are looking to quantum leap into spring, if you're ready to bloom, if you're ready to shake off, wow, Sophie shook as I said that. Hey, Soph. If you're ready to shake off the winter heaviness, come and join this 90-minute meditation journaling class. You'll get loads and loads out of it. Plus, a support of really great women as well. We've got people joining from Canada, the US, and in the UK. If you're from another country, join us. We'd love to have you. 7:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on the 19th of March. It's a Wednesday. I'd love to see you there. Okay, what is burnout? What is it? And how can we recognize it early? So burnout is not just stress, yeah? Stress comes and goes. It's a very natural part of life. Stress is very healthy. It's important. We need it, yeah? There are unhealthy levels of stress. But burnout is, and this is what burnout is. Burnout is when stress becomes chronic, when your body begins to shut down along with your mind and your emotions as a response to try and cope with these high levels of stress. Yeah? So it is a survival mechanism. Yeah, it's just trying to keep you safe. It's a sign that your system has been running on empty for too long, and now your body, your mind, your emotions is pushing on the brakes. Enough is enough. So some early signs of burnout can include feeling constantly drained, even after rest. Yeah, who else can relate to that? Small tasks feel really overwhelming. Increased irritability, anxiety, or emotional numbness. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, a deep sense of dread, about work or responsibilities, and a loss of motivation in the things that you used to enjoy, yeah? I'm going to say at this point, if all of that feels really, really true, if life feels really, really tricky right now, I'd really, really encourage you to get some support, and that might be with a trained therapist or counsellor, that might be seeing your GP, that might be community support, that might be yoga. Yeah, you know what you need. I just want to remind you of that at this point to take really good care of yourself, yeah? So burnout is your body's way of saying, I can't keep going like this, yeah? And the sooner that you can recognize it, the sooner that you can intervene before you hit full shutdown mode. Because this is what I want us to talk about, yeah? It's a conversation. Life is a conversation between body, mind, heart, yeah? In the Enneagram, we call these the centers of intelligence. You have your heart center, you have your mind center, and you have your body center. In the Western world, we focus really, really heavily on the mind center. Yeah, your intellect, the kind of classical way we think about intelligence. Your body is also a center of intelligence, as are your emotions. Yeah, we want to keep all of those balanced. We want to keep all of those centers talking to each other. Yeah. So when your body says, hey, I'm feeling tired, or I really need to go to the toilet, or I really need a snack, and our mind goes, we don't deserve that. We've got to be busy doing work. We don't have time for that. No, that's a disconnect that's happening. Yeah. Between those two centers of intelligence, we have to begin to relearn to respect our heart center and our body center as these highly intelligent centers of wisdom. Yeah, your body is a wisdom keeper, your heart is a wisdom keeper. We can honor them, we can listen to them. Let's talk a little bit about Enneagram burnout patterns. Let's talk about how different types experience it, yeah? So we know that each Enneagram type has its own way of dealing with burnout. We know that each type can push towards burnout, and that is often very much connected to the core motivation of your Enneagram type and your core fear as well. If you didn't know that your Enneagram type has a core motivation and a core fear, take my free Enneagram quiz now. Just scroll down in the show notes, grab that free quiz and take it. Find out what type you are and learn all about that core fear and that core motivation. If you'd like to learn about that in loads of detail, if you'd like to have really clear support on those two on those two parts of your Enneagram type, book in for a blueprint typing session. It's a 90-minute one-on-one session where we dive into your core motivations, your core fear, perhaps your wounding childhood message. We talk about where you are and where you want to go and how you can get there based on your personality type, which Enneagram type you are. It's a fantastic session if you're wanting to learn more about that. Okay, type 1. Unsurprisingly, burnout shows up from perfectionism for type 1s. The over-responsibility, yeah? The never feeling like we're doing enough, just adding more and more and more and more and more and more onto their plate. And their inner critic makes rest feel unproductive. Now, we might all be able to engage with that. Some of us might think, no, I've got no problem resting. I love to rest. That's amazing. That's amazing. Some of us really struggle to rest. We feel that rest is unproductive. Yeah? If that's you, you could be an Enneagram type 1. Take that free quiz, find out. Type 2, again, unsurprisingly, burnout tends to show up because the type 2s are neglecting their own needs. They're overgiving and not at all focusing on themselves. They struggle to say no and feel guilty when they rest. Can you see that difference there between the type 1? The type 1 feels that rest is unproductive. That's why they don't want to do it. Type 2s feel guilty about the rest, and that's why they don't want to do it. When we're talking about the Enneagram, we're talking about what motivates their behavior, yeah? So all of us, you listening right now and me, and Sophie behind me, we all might have a similar response, a similar behavior, but it's what's motivating that behavior is what differentiates us, yeah? And that's what we're looking at with the Enneagram. What is motivating your behavior? Okay, type 3. Burnout tends to show up through their constant striving because their worth is tied to productivity, yeah? Similar to type 1, catch the difference. Type 3s tend to push past exhaustion, yeah? Because they don't listen to the cues that their body is giving them. So rest doesn't naturally come up. Type 3s are not naturally restful. They have to remember to go and rest. Yeah, they're quite self-forgetting with what's going on with their emotions, their needs, their body. So they don't remember to rest, and that can be why they end up in burnout. Does that sound like you? Okay, Sorry, I've just had a reshuffle if you're watching this. I was getting a dead leg. Okay, type 4. Type 4, your burnout often is connected to your emotional intensity and perhaps feeling deeply misunderstood. Eve, what the heck are you talking about? Yeah? What do you mean somebody is getting burnt out because they feel misunderstood? The emotional intensity, so what's key to remember here is that burnout is not just physical, yeah? It's physical, it's emotional, and it's mental. And for type 4s, who are perhaps the most able to feel the biggest, the widest range of emotions, when those emotions are deeply, intensely negative, that can lead to burnout for the type 4. And type 4s may end up isolating themselves rather than seeking support. Type 5s, burnout can come about from that overconsumption of information, yeah? That feeling like they don't have enough knowledge, they don't have enough information, they don't have enough to give, there isn't enough. That can lead to burnout as well for the type 5, similar to the type 4, in that it's not coming from a physical adding more and more and more and more onto their plate, like the 1, 2, or 3. 4 and 5, it's a much more internal response. It's a much more internal situation in any case with the type 4 and 5. Why? Because they're in the withdrawing stance, yeah? Catch that difference. Okay, type 6, it's going to come from overthinking, yeah? The chronic worrying, the chronic preparing for worst case scenario. So at work, this might look like not being able to have a single meeting without talking about the worst case scenario and being fixated on that, rather than being able to get on with your job. This in turn is going to create a nervous system that is always on high alert. Nervous system work is so important for all of us. It's so important for type 6s because of that chronic overthinking, that chronic overworrying. For type 7s, it's going to come about from
avoiding discomfort and always saying yes, okay? Similar to the type 3 here. There is an element of pushing through exhaustion, not listening to the body's needs to chase the next experience. For type 8, burnout can come about. Burnout is connected to the over-controlling of a workplace, of an environment, yeah? So similar to the type 2, of course, the 8 and the 2 share a line. Burnout is going to thrive in a space where the type 8 feels that they have to control every single thing. Type 8s, you can't control every single thing. We have to have a relationship with vulnerability. So the type 8 operates in high energy mode, trying to do everything until they crash really, really hard, yeah? And that's because the type 8 is also connected to the type 5. Think about that shift in energy. Type 8s have the most amount of energy on the Enneagram. Type 5s have some of the least amount of energy on the Enneagram. And type 9s. It's linked to emotional suppression and avoidance for type 9s, okay? So the going along, keeping the peace with everything, draining themselves forever and ever and ever, non-stop, that can't happen indefinitely. At some point, you will crash. So we really need to be considerate about that avoidance, that emotional suppression. So recognizing these burnout patterns can help us shift. We can shift out of them before hitting full depletion. When you begin to notice, whoa, I'm needing to control every single thing. Or wow, I needed to wee every single night after getting home from work this week. I'm maybe not listening to my body. I wonder why that is for the type 3, for example. Or, the emotion or the chronic overthinking and needing to prepare those worst case scenarios with everybody in your life for every single occasion might be highlighting to the type 6 where they are at in terms of maybe a great reminder of where they're at within those burnout patterns. So I want to talk about the nervous system's role within burnout recovery. For me, this was really key, and I'm sharing this for what's helped me and for what I have and where I've seen this help and support others. We know that your nervous system plays a huge role within recovery. We know that when you're in burnout, your nervous system is stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Yeah? If you don't know what fight, flight, freeze, or fawn are, let me explain about the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. So if you're in fight mode, you might feel irritable, snappy, like everything is frustrating you. If you're in flight mode, you might be anxious, constantly busy, unable to slow down. If you're in freeze mode, you might be numb, exhausted, avoiding everything. And if you're in fawn mode, you might be people-pleasing, over-accommodating, and suppressing your needs. Now, there is a scale here, yeah? It's not an on-off switch. People-pleasing might be something that you struggle with all the time, yeah? It might be something that you've struggled with throughout your life. It doesn't mean that you are always stuck in a fight-flight response, yeah? If you feel that this is so extreme and so intense, again, I would just love to invite you to take exquisite care of yourself. And that might look like speaking to a therapist or a counselor. That might look like getting another form of community support, maybe through yoga or movement. It might be that you need to speak to your GP. Yeah. If that feels extreme and that you can't keep going, I would really invite yourself to take good care of yourself. Again, we're just talking about the information here. We're talking about what we can look out for, and we're talking about what we can notice as well within our own patterns. So you might know just from hearing that, I have a tendency to go into freeze mode. And so the next time that I notice myself beginning to feel really numb, beginning to feel exhausted, not sharing my opinion, I might take pause. I might take that to my next counseling session. I might be really aware of that in my journaling practice. I might work on that with my coach. Yeah. So to recover, when we've noticed where we are, to kind of recover from that place, we need to regulate the nervous system. And the beauty of that is that we all can regulate our own nervous systems, yeah? Sometimes we need a little bit of extra help and support with that, But there are so many things we can do ourselves right now, even whilst we're listening to this episode. There are so many things that we can do to support ourselves, which is one, so empowering, right? It's so empowering. It's so encouraging. And it's kind of like, oh, thank goodness I'm in charge of this. Yeah. I'm an adult. I can take good care of myself. And I'm going to take really good care of myself. And if you've heard me talk about nervous system regulation before, you know, number one on the list is slowing down. We live in a world that glorifies hustle culture. Your nervous system can't be regulated in all this hustle. We have to slow down. So we need to slow down. We need to ground ourselves, and we need to relearn safety in rest. So much of my work is supported. So much of my work is built to support our nervous system. Yeah. Meditation is a huge part of my work. Yeah. Grounding ourselves is a huge part of my work. If you've ever been to any of my sessions, any of my in-person events, any of my online classes, or if you've worked with me one-to-one, you'll know just how important creating that regulated nervous system is. We start from there. We don't do anything else before we've done that. Why? Because there ain't no point, sunshine. Because there's no point, right? There's literally no point. So many people are adding in, mindfulness techniques and journaling and looking for a creative outlet, and they sit down to do it. You've doom scrolled all day, you've not eaten lunch, you've had 14 coffees, you've not peed, you've dropped the kids off, now you've walked the dog in the rain, then you've got home and you sit down to do some journaling, or you wake up to do some journaling first thing in the morning, and you can't do it. And you think, journaling doesn't work for me, or mindfulness doesn't work for me, meditation doesn't work for me. And I would say, no, you have thrusted yourself into these moments of rest and relaxation, a moment to try and fill your own cup, and you don't have capacity to do it. And one of the main reasons is you're just moving too fast. We got to strip it back. We got to make it really simple. We got to slow it down. Yeah? Here are some of my favorite ways that you can reset your nervous system right now. Yeah? Deep belly breathing. A 4-second inhale. Ooh, and a 7-second exhale. Some of you are thinking, really? This all feels quite serious and stressful, and you want me to just breathe. Yeah, I do, babes. I do. I think it's going to help you so much. I'd love it right now. Let's do it together. Let's do 3 rounds of it. Now, it's difficult to lead and breathe at the same time, but I do want to join you in this. Yeah, I do. Let's do some deep belly breathing together. So let's inhale for 4 seconds. And let's release with a 7-second exhale. Let's do that 2 more times. Let's inhale for 4 seconds now together. And let's release with that 7-second exhale. Let's take the final deep belly breath unguided, really focusing on sending that breath into your tummy. Glorious, right? That took less than a minute. One of the reasons why I love that is you can't do deep belly breathing fast. It wouldn't work. You can't do it. You can't speed up 7 seconds. So deep belly breathing. Get a little reminder somewhere on your phone, on your desk, on your mirror. Start adding in these deep belly breaths to your morning, afternoon, and evening. Tell me you don't see a shift. Yeah? Gentle movement like stretching, walking, and yoga is also really helpful. Again, you can do that right now. You can stretch and yawn and move your body in a really intuitive, comforting way. Yeah, you're in charge of that. You can do that. Nature exposure. Yeah. Now, if you're living in, well, somewhere with 4 seasons, and the season is a cold one right now, whenever you're listening to this, yeah, this can feel a bit tricky. But even as short as 5 minutes outside has been shown to help. Taking a quick walk around the block, standing in your garden, yeah, trying to find the squirrels and the birds, looking for the signs of new life, maybe some little flowers or buds on the trees. Nature exposure can also be really helpful in regulating that nervous system. And then finally, real restorative rest. Yeah, so I'm not talking about finishing work, having your dinner in front of the TV, watching 3 hours of Married at First Sight, and then going to bed. That's not restful. Yeah, that's just binge watching TV. Now, hey, you know me, I love Married at First Sight, particularly the Australian version. But that's not restorative rest, yeah? So restorative rest is anything that I just mentioned, plus painting, reading, perhaps listening to music, dependent on the music, of course, swimming, journaling, guided meditation, breath work. Find some restorative work. Find some restorative rest that feels really good, that captures your attention, and plug it into your week, yeah? Cooking is a really big one for me, just as an example. And I just want to touch on what doesn't help before we come into land, yeah? Like, what is actually making burnout worse? Because there's all this advice about burnout that sounds really good. I've just given you loads. I just want to touch on what sounds good but is actually keeping you stuck, okay? I've got 3. So toxic positivity, telling yourself that you just need to be grateful, stay positive, keep a positive mindset, is not going to heal burnout. You need validation. You don't need forced optimism. That's probably just going to make it worse, okay? You don't need to listen to anybody who's telling you that. You don't need to impose those rules on yourself, okay? You don't have to be toxically positive towards yourself or anybody else that is experiencing burnout. Release yourself. Number 2, ignoring your stress signals. Hustle culture will tell you to push through, to show up even when it hurts. Burnout doesn't go away from pushing through. Your nervous system can't stay regulated by just pushing through. If you don't listen to your body, it will force you to stop. I can say that with 100% certainty. Go back and listen to my episode. Go back and listen to episode 26 where I talk about my chronic illness. Yeah? Do not ignore your body. And then I just want to talk and then quick fixes. Yeah? So things like, for example, a bubble bath is not going to cure your burnout. Yeah, bubble bath is really nice restorative rest. That is all it is. It's not going to cure anything. True recovery requires long-term support, not just temporary relief. A bubble bath, a weekly bubble bath, yeah, now we're talking. But we need to have the things in place to support us over a longer period of time. We can't expect these quick fixes to change things long term. Yeah. So then what are these sustainable practices for long-term recovery? I'm so glad that you asked. So these are the things that are going to help you stay out of burnout long term. So these are things that are going to help support you if you're listening to your body. Yeah. Now, not everybody will need everything. Listen out to what feels like it could be supportive for you. So we've kind of touched on it already, but redefining rest. Yeah. So that restorative rest, understanding that rest isn't just sleeping, it's active replenishment. Yeah. When we see athletes doing a recovery session, we might think, wow, that is like really hectic. They're like running and jumping and doing ice baths. It's active replenishment. That is what we're talking about. How can we provide active replenishment for our soul, for our heart, for our body, for our mind? So creative rest. So singing, dancing, cooking, creating, drawing, reading. All for fun. Yeah? Not because you have to cook every night to feed yourself. Doing something for fun. Active replenishment. Sensory rest. So dimming the lights, weighted blankets, reducing that screen time, Sitting in silence doesn't have to be a full meditation, but can you play with silence for some sensory rest, some active replenishment? And then emotional rest, yeah? So journaling, deep conversations with trusted friends, therapy, support, community support, yeah? Can you play with these different types of rest and really engage with the active replenishment? What lights up when I'm saying that? Maybe make a note of it now. Again, we've touched on it before, but creating that daily regulated nervous system. Yeah. So it's not that you went to a breathwork session recently and now your nervous system is regulated. If only. It's what are the daily practices that are supporting you? Is it a little reminder on your phone every 2 hours to do some deep belly breathing? Yeah. Is it going for a walk outside of the office at lunchtime? Is it slower mornings on a weekend? What does that look like for you? Controversial, but I think setting boundaries. So we've got redefine rest, we've got regulating that nervous system, and then controversially or not, I think setting boundaries. If you don't protect your energy, the burnout will repeat itself. We talk about this a lot in my Overwhelm to Overflow self-paced course. But I want you to ask yourself, what do I need to say no to in order to say yes to my well-being? What do I need to say no to in order to say yes to my well-being? What does that look like? We're not talking about hyper-individualism. We're talking about healthy boundaries. There's a difference. And then finally, gentle rebuilding. Sometimes when we're coming out of burnout, we start to feel a bit better. We then throw it into fifth gear and just try and go at 100 miles an hour. Yeah. We need to resist that urge to go at full speed. It's so hard. It's so hard. I find it so hard. We need to go slow. We need to prioritize balance. So hopefully what you've taken from today is that burnout recovery isn't just sleeping. It's about changing the patterns that led you there. And sometimes burnout happens because things have been out of our control. Yeah, totally. I totally hear that. I totally respect that. What are you in control of, and how can you take good care of yourself from that space of being in control? Yeah. And that probably will take time. It will take compassion. It will take consistency. If you need some extra support with that, come and grab my Overwhelm to Overflow course. It's linked in the show notes. It could be helpful for you if that's something that you're struggling with. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop me a voice note. Just scroll down through the show notes and leave me a voice note. Send me a DM. I would love, love, love to hear your thoughts. Why don't you share it on social media and tag me in it? I'm at the Enneagram Guide. Let's help more people support themselves in burnout recovery. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a fantastic week. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Monday at 9 a.m. for the next episode of Guided. Take exquisite care of yourselves, guys. I'll see you next time.
If Guided the podcast resonated with you, why not share it on your socials or send it to your friends? And if you have a spare moment, I would love it if you could leave me a review. These small gestures are free and they're invaluable in helping me amplify the reach of Guided the podcast, connecting us with more empowered women who are eager to increase their well-being. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop with our latest episodes. By subscribing, you'll stay connected and receive a weekly dose of inspiration directly to your inbox. Thank you for being a part of our community, for showing up, and for your commitment to personal growth and self-discovery. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and keep exploring the depths of your own inner wisdom.